welcome back. Our last guest is a creative nonfiction mixed genre writer and poet from New York City. She's a 2019 Brio Award-winning poet, and her work has been featured in several anthologies, including the Breakbeat Poets, Latinx Volume 4, and she's currently working on her first book while also launching her new digital series. Everyone, please welcome Sydney Valerio. Hola.
Hola. How are you? I am well. I am well. Steamy, but you know, it's summer. It's
yeah, exactly. We're not going to complain about the heat nowadays, right? And so I do want to acknowledge your background. I love your background. It's very apropos for the segment.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being with us. And you know, I was in awe just learning about you and just your style and really what you stand for. I wanted to reference, even though I know you're going to be performing for us later, but I did want to reference the poem about the chicle, right? Because there's so much symbolism and significance in like cultural just identity within a piece of gum in your writing. So let's talk a little bit about your journey and why you are I think you're a stand for our community in being a voice, an authentic voice of what you represent.
Yes, I actually, as a writer, really try to center myself in documenting our voices and experiences. And I came to that sense and notion as a writer because I'm an academic as well. And I've navigated many academic sceneries, including being a professor at Fordham for a decade. And what I found was that there's a lot of talk about our community in the ivory tower, but there's a lack of authentic voices coming from our community telling our stories. So that's what really motivated me to really go into being a creative writer that focuses on capturing what I'm witnessing and what I'm experiencing as someone of this community, this Bronx beautiful community.
And so I want to make sure that everybody gets what we're talking about, right? Because when you're in that world of whatever, the literary world, the performance world, there's this sense of adjusting and acclimating to please and or to be related to, right? And where what I got from your work is that you are inviting people to relate to us versus us finding a way to make it relatable for them. And I say us and them because, you know, I'm a Latina as well. So, and an urban Latina at that.
Well, yes, I think what you're referencing is, you know, living within that white gaze that we grew up in here in the United States. And so Puños y Trompones, which is the poem that you're referencing, came from, you know, I'm not always a fist full of these chicles that my family brought me from DR that I realized represented the stretch we're always expected to make. So if you want to know my essence, come to me. I'm not going to stretch anymore.
Stretch. And it's very symbolic of our times right now, because right now everybody's being asked and forced, for lack of a better word, to stretch.
Yes, and I'm really centering myself and my work in stillness these days and just being present and just being within my community.
And so what does that look like for you? Because I find that we're all pivoting, and we're all pivoting from an internal place. And that internal place obviously loans itself to rediscovering oneself and our identities. And yes, we can go back into the history and or we can recreate from our history. So where do you find yourself in this equation?
So what's interesting is that I'm a local of New York City, but I serve a suburban school district as my 9 to 5. And as a local of New York City, I found myself in writing circles that were full of other people who had full-time jobs but wanted to write their stories. So that's where I find myself these days, even before the MFA, and currently now as I'm getting ready to launch this digital archive series, I'm finding myself within my community and being a local in my Bronx community.
And so what do we have to look forward to in this digital archive?
So it's a very organic experience. I do have a background in technology from my first master's. So it really is going to look different online, but it's going to be personable. It's going to be me going out into Van Cortlandt and hosting recorded series of just documenting people's stories about what is New York City and what has their experience been since they were kids.
Interesting. And what about this particular time period?
This time period, more than ever, we saw many people leave. And there are those of us who stay, not just because we love this place, but because this is home. So I love the fact that everything is conspiring to make sure that the people that I'm recording are actually here because they are from here.
And so when do you foresee this being released?
So I'm unrolling it as early as next week. I will start launching in a very organic way through community circles, flyers, and invitations for people to join me for these free workshops and sessions.
So do you have a launch date? You said next week. We're in August, but I'm just curious. Have you set the launch date? Because I know we kind of like wiggle a little bit when it's digital.
Thursday next week, yes. Next week, Thursday would be August 12th. Or 13th, something like that.
August 13th.
August 13th. And as you can see, it really is about just letting it go when it needs to. I really believe in trusting the timing of when spirit says to let it go.
That's pretty much where we are, period, right? So it's a wonderful thing to surrender. So before we go, I know you're going to perform for us, and I just wanted to give a little background on what you're going to be performing for us. I know the title is Castañuelas, right?
Yes.
And I also understand that it's published by Harvard University's literary journal, Palabritas. Oh, there's the book.
Yes, it is. So I love the fact that I'm sharing this with you. Castañuelas is the campo that my family is from, which is also the same place Cardi B's family is from. So it's a pretty interesting story there.
That's what's up. All right. Well, thanks for giving us a little background. You guys, you got to stay tuned because we're going to take a quick break. And then when we return, it's Sydney Valerio. She's going to perform Castañuelas when we return. Don't go anywhere.